Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today I'm pretty excited. We're going to be taking a look at the latest Call of Dragons developer Q&A. I don't think they've done one, well, it's been almost a month, but to be fair, that's what their usual range is, somewhere around a 30-day window. So this is great that we're getting the latest one, which is leading up to the 1.0.18 update. So hopefully we'll get some nice little nuggets in here. I haven't read anything yet. I have clicked on it. And again, you can find this by going on the official COD Discord. You go here on down to the support category. You click Dev Feedback for the forums. And then after you click this, you can do the three dots top right, open in full view. So it'll look very similar to a standard Discord chat channel. And we're going to read through all of this right now. I've only skimmed thus far, so I'm pretty excited. Haven't read everything in its entirety. So hopefully we'll get some good stuff. You guys will get some little authentic reactions from your boy. Let's dive right in. Question 1. Since Season 1 Plus began, leveling up my heroes again has felt like a grind, and it's particularly slow. Leveling up level 50 plus non-gathering heroes, will you be doing anything to change this? Answer. We're aware that the leveling up experience in the new season has left some players unsatisfied. We're currently looking at ways to accelerate the leveling up process in new seasons and enriching other aspects of gameplay. We'll let you know more about our plans when they're ready, and we hope they'll make the experience a lot more enjoyable. So, for me on this one, my view is pretty simple. I've said this publicly in other videos as well. I would love for them just to create a way where you could get 10 heroes to level 60 by the time Zone 3 opens. Now, whether that's doing something where you're, maybe increasing the rate of some EXP gained, or if you're, maybe coming out with another event or two, whatever it may be, right? My view is just because, again, to me, it just feels like having 10 heroes that are at level 60 allows you to have 5 legions where you could have max troop capacity. So I think that's really important. And being able to get to a point where you can do that. Now, bear in mind, I'm sure this will be easier to do once players, and this is kind of like, a little bit of a toss-up. You kind of have to be on the fence on this one because, sure, maybe for the first season, or the first new season, right, or the second season, if you will, unofficially, for 1 Plus, you may not be there at that moment. However, once you get to a point where, let's say you have max T4 or you're getting close to T5, you're probably going to be able to start leveling up your heroes a lot faster because you'll be attacking higher level Darklings, which is generating you more EXP. So those are things that will also factor in as well, right? The amount that you're able to level up heroes in Season 1 Plus compared to Season 2 as an example, which would be the unofficial second season and then unofficial third season if we're saying it that way, right? Because you have Season 1, which is your season, which is first season. Second season is Season 1 Plus. Third season would be Season 2, right? So when you get to Season 2 or your third season playing, you're going to be able to level up your heroes faster than you would have in Season 1 or Season 1 Plus, which is the unofficial Season 2. Why? Because you have progressed and leveled up your city, your account, that much more. So when the next season starts, you're able to start attacking higher level Darklings and gaining more EXP for those heroes. So there is that to consider as well. I just generally like the idea of a kind of that 10 hero baseline by being able to max those out at 60 from what I would say just doing your typical daily routine and maybe using a little bit of CP here thus far. Now, for those of you that are attacking nothing but level, max level Darklings, if you're already at a point where you're like, dude, I can get 10 heroes by the time Zone 3 opens from doing that, then that's great. That's awesome. I'm just giving an example as a baseline that I'd like to see for maybe not just those that are maxing out at 25. However, that is an argument that could be made on one side of it. I would just like to see something where you could have more of like the free to play and the low spend also participating in maybe a higher volume of engagement because they're able to get 10 heroes to level 60, even if they might only be able to get 10 heroes to level 60 or almost to level 60 by the time Zone 3 opens. That's what I would like to see, something there, because I think that would help out a lot more, because you have to think about it. They're going to keep coming up with more heroes. It's not like they're going to stop, right? So 10 to me just seems like, a nice number, because it basically just equals 2 per legion for your 5 legions at 10. Okay, next question here is, after a server merge, players start fighting over regions right away. The losing side barely even gets a chance to gather resources and fight in PvE properly. And this can affect their early game development. Is there a way to avoid this? The answer: when a new season starts, some players will take the lead and grow stronger, crowding out weaker players and giving them less breathing room. We're looking into ways of fixing this problem, such as optimizing server merge matchmaking and introducing protection mechanisms in starting regions at the beginning of a new season, as well as other solutions. Okay. My view is pretty simple. If you want, and this is just what I can think of right now in the moment. I probably have to give this some more thought later on. However, doing things like having designated starting Zone 1 regions is really a very easy and effective solution. Where, because right now you have to think about it. You could have 2, 3, or 4 kingdoms, or however many, if you have more, if you're in a KVK with more than 4 kingdoms, you could have 2 or more kingdoms go into the same starting region and essentially fight it out, and it doesn't really matter about the 48-hour shield. They'll just wait, they'll build up, they'll wait, and then they'll still crush you. So the 48-hour shield isn't really doing anything. I'm not saying that, oh my gosh, what a bad idea by the devs. Not at all. But it is more of a band-aid instead of a permanent solution, right? And we also spoke about this when we first heard about it, right? We talked about, okay, this is just something they're doing for now, but they're gonna do something later on to help the situation more. My view is simple. Like I said, just create starting regions and randomize it. So if you put, as an example, if you put 4 kingdoms in a KVK, you randomize their starting positions. Bam. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Each person gets a starting Zone 1 region, and then you're good to go. The other way to do it is, let's say if you have more than 4 kingdoms in a KVK, then what you could do is create something that kind of splits the sides, where you kind of maybe have like this invisible barrier or whatnot, where if you end up, like, let's say you have 5 or you have 6 kingdoms, right, in your KVK, then maybe if 2 kingdoms get split into a specific region, you could have some type of invisible wall or barrier line, right, where they kind of get half of the behemoths, half the land, other side gets half the behemoths, half the land, you get half of the passes, right? I think there's ways to do it. However, I think once you start having 5 or more kingdoms in a KVK group, given you only have 4 starting regions and 3 neutral starting 1 regions, you're really handicapping yourself. So then you have to kind of take it back and let's go more to the beginning, which is, well, if you go before this, what we're really saying is that you just need to have healthy kingdoms in the beginning, right? There, in my opinion, should be no reason why you would need to put more than 4 kingdoms into a KVK group, given how the S1 Plus map layout is. It does not benefit to have 5 or more kingdoms in a KVK. You have 4 starting Zone 1 regions. KVK should be for 4 kingdoms. What we really should be looking at as a way to reduce that side, or that aspect of having it, is to build healthier kingdoms from the get-go. And one of the ways to do that is you allow for, you raise the pop cap for the first Augur Stone. We've talked about this before, where you raise the level from where it currently is now, where it's like 7,500 people have to hit level 4 to hit that first Augur Stone. Increase that to 10,000, and you increase the level to 12. This would allow for you to populate kingdoms in a healthier way. And then once that threshold is hit, then you release a new kingdom. This would then solve the issue or the hurdle that we have right now, which is needing to put 5 or more kingdoms into a KVK group, right? Again, I understand the reason for maybe needing to do it now, because some of the kingdoms are underpopulated, and if that's the way they feel they're going about it, okay, right, that's on them. But that's something that I think really needs to be strongly looked at. So anyways, like I said, that's how I view it. I just don't really see anything that, if you're allowing multiple kingdoms or allowing the opportunity for players and or alliances of multiple kingdoms to go into the same starting region as others, I just don't think that's ever going to be an actual solution. I think anything you're going to do is just going to appear to be a band-aid or a short-term fix on that situation until something like that for what Rock does for their KVKs, or we should say right for their starting KVKs, that is something I think would be great. Because the fact is that the game isn't really going in this alliance-based format. It's going to more of a kingdom unification format that we see, that we've seen and has been seen to trend more over time with games like Rock, Infinity Kingdom, potentially SOS and Lords Mobile, I would imagine, even though I haven't really done too much playing for those. And so I just think that we need to start looking at kind of playing to what the trending strengths are of COD. And to me, I don't really care if they bring in other features from other games that are successful, if they work and they've been tried and tested, and there's nothing else that COD can introduce, because to me, I just believe that the way that COD is playing is just better. I just think it's a better overall game, a more competitive kingdom builder than anything out there that's on the market. So, invest into those things. Then we get to the next question here, which is, rules for semi-protected passes in Season 1 Plus have led to situations where an alliance wins a battle against another alliance and then can't attack the losing side's starting region. Meanwhile, the losing side can still move through the pass and harass alliances outside of it. Doesn't that seem unfair? You guys probably aren't going to like my response to this, but I'm going to give you some real talk here. Answer that they give is Season 1 Plus, we've discovered that some players will enter the affiliated region of other players in their union, then attack their opponents in order to make combat more fair and prevent situations where a defeated alliance has no place to flee to. We have limited players' ability to move through passes if their union does not control Behemoth layer in that pass's region. The IE short version is that they patched this and they made it so that if you do not control a behemoth in the starting region, you cannot go into the starting region from one of the neutral regions, regardless if you have a union with an alliance in that starting region. In future seasons, however, we're planning to incorporate safe zones. In order to make gameplay fair, this feature is still under development and we'll let you know when it's ready. And see, this kind of goes into what I was saying before, is that I just don't know. Now, I will say in Rock, eventually your starting Zone 1 region opened up at a certain period. I think it was like the last week or something, or whatever it may have been, but it was towards the end of that KVK season where that would open, and then players could go in and kind of kill all those players. However, what you have to understand about this, which is an important difference, is that those players could technically TP back to a home kingdom for safety. And you could do the same thing in Infinity Kingdom. You could TP to the KVK and TP back to your home kingdom. You cannot do that in COD. So to ask for them to open up the starting region, where essentially these players would be berated with constant attacks, constant farming, that to me is the worst thing that could happen. And that's how you really start killing off your player base. Now, bear in mind, we're not saying that these players shouldn't fight or that there shouldn't be some fair win, but you have to understand that in Season 1 Plus, at one point in time, you are essentially all on the same starting plane, where all these alliances are able, or we should say are and or if able, to advance from Zone 1 to Zone 2 to Zone 3. So if you've already done fighting in Zone 3 and Zone 2, but you just basically want to kind of stop out and eradicate the resistance that's in their starting region, I mean, again, you don't have a home kingdom you can go back to. So to me, with the way the game is built currently, that would do more harm than good, despite despite the lust that some players have for carnage and blood, right? Let's just say. I just think that needs to be a little bit more well thought out. Now let's get to the idea of safe zones. This is interesting. I mean, I guess it depends. Like, what are they going to do? Split the starting Zone 1 regions in half or a third, and then designate this area as a safe zone where if you started out in that region, you could TP there, but then no one can go and attack your city or something like that? Or maybe it's kind of a condensed version where you can farm on like smaller territory. In my view, I just don't believe that there should be a reason for that you should allow players to go into a starting area. Now, on the flip side, when you're talking about players in those starting regions that are able to send troops out and go and attack at any point in time, I mean, yeah, can I see that from the other perspective or the other side of the fence? 100% I can. However, this has been something that has been done in Rock. I believe you can do this in Infinity Kingdom at the moment, and it's just been something that's been there for a while, right? One solution would be, don't send workhorses out to farm. You farm with full troops or with war units, right? Or non-workhorses, non-gathering units. And then you farm with those out in the field. So that way you're still able to get some trades off, or you make it more difficult for those that are just going to run around with cav and just, hit your farmers all day long, as an example. Now, if they want to create something where it limits how much fighting they can do, like for example, right? Let's say that if you wanted to be able to, like, let's say they made a range, like a range that was, so for example, the territory that you have when you're going to attack a pass and you have to be connected, but you can see kind of the rectangle box that's around the pass. What if they created a bubble, like a radius or something, that was around and outside of the passes? And that area allowed for you to go ahead and attack players in. But beyond that radius, you couldn't go and attack players if your city is still located in the starting region. Basically, what we're saying is that you can attack a decent radius beyond the pass that would allow for you to get players out there, right? So you could attack a flag as an example, and then eventually get your cities out into the other side of the pass. And then, right, you could go and attack people in that territory. Now, again, I'm just spitballing, so I'm not sure how good or not that may sound to anyone. The way I kind of view this right now is that at least until they could come up with something better than what's currently being done, I don't really have a problem with this at the moment. I just think it's something that players have to have a realistic expectation where you're just not farming with workhorses, especially if you're in those neutral regions. Because you have to understand this, is that if you've pushed them back to their starting zone 1 region, they can't get into your zone 2, they can't get into your zone 3, they can't even get into some of the other zone 1 regions. So you have plenty of areas that you can farm, right? You technically do not need to, in reality, farm in one of the neutral zone 1 regions, depending on the starting zone 1 region they're in. In addition to this, even if they have control of one of the passes that goes into zone 2, you don't really need to farm in that zone 2 region. Sure, the other side of the argument is, oh, well, I should be able to farm there and they shouldn't just push us out. But to be fair, I mean, again, you have things that you can do, whether you're farming, like I said, with non-gathering, non-workhorse units. You can just fall back and just, lead them to boredom. And then that way, if they ever try and push your flag, then you guys just TP in, as an example, and you go and attack them. Or you leave your cities where you are and you farm farther away, so you make them work for it more. I mean, again, I think or you have a team on standby, right? That's one of the things you can do too as well. So you basically set up a team where you have players around the clock, depending on what their time zones are, and they're basically just there to, pay attention or watch at any point in time. Right, I'm not saying they have to sit there and stare at the pass all day long, but where if they're on, they just will frequently check to see if there's any units out there, and if they do, then okay, they give everyone a ping or something like that, right, to kind of give those as a heads up. The point is there's ways that you can work around this, but I'll be interested to see what they do with that. Then we get to the next question, which is, will you add a recall message feature to the chat? You'll be able to recall messages in 1.0.18. Just hold down the message bubble and a recall button will appear. I love this. If this is going to work out the way I think it is, where you can, if someone pings you or ats you in a world chat or an alliance chat, you can open the chat up, click on it. Infinity Kingdom had this, where if somebody added you, you could click on it and it would take you to the last or the farthest, or the oldest message that someone added you on, and then it would take you to where that was. I love this. I would also, let's extend this a bit further though. If they could introduce something where you could reply to a message in chat, and then it would do some type of bubble link, or like, let's say this is the bubble, there would be another bubble that would be half up on it, on top, and then that would be the message you're replying to. So that way, if you wanted to reply to a message, then anyone who's reading that could also click on that to see what the reply was. Very simple, basically taking a Discord concept and applying it in game. That would be dope. Okay, let's get to the next one, which is, will you add a union feature? A union chat feature. Since the new season began, we've noticed that alliances and unions will often message each other for the purposes of planning and battle preparation. We're currently working on a union chat feature, and we'll let you know when we have more info. This is dope. Absolutely love this. Something that we called out too in the suggestions video I made, by being able to have a dedicated chat amongst the two alliances within that union. I think that's a great addition. Next question. The commander and deputy pairing suggestions aren't ones I usually use when I'm making a legion, and it's a pain to have to keep changing them. Are you doing anything to fix this? In 1.0.18, you'll be able to swap out commanders and deputies quickly, making it easier to create different legion configurations for different scenarios. I like this. If it's something that's going to allow for you to make those legion pairings along with potential adaptions and counter legion play on the comeback or when they're coming back to replenish, right, I think those are going to be great additions when it comes to the potential fighting aspect that will allow for. Next question, will you be adding engineering talents that allow heroes to gain EXP through constructing buildings? Answer, we're aware that engineering doesn't currently feel like a substantial aspect of the game, so we're looking at ways of adjusting its role in-game. We'll let you know when we have a workable solution. This is something that I do think, and I want to talk about this for a moment. I love that the engineering thing is almost kind of becoming its own dedicated role within CoD. I almost would love for them to look more into this type of system, almost kind of creating roles within how players can play the game. So it's not just as linear as, oh, well, everyone can fight, everyone should fight, right? What if you have some people that don't want to fight, right? What's wrong with building your account to be someone who helps with things like RSS and building or destroying, right? To me, I view that still as a win. I still view that as a big contributing factor where you might get some people that look at this game and they're like, man, I could play in this top alliance, but I just don't really want to fight. I'm not saying that that's the majority. I imagine that's probably more of a minority or a smaller group of people that just don't really care too much for fighting. But to be able to create something like that, right, a very similar situation is you look at someone who plays like a support in League of Legends, right? They're not the primary DPS dealer. They're not the tank, right? They have a dedicated role that they play. And so I almost would love if CoD kind of started looking into doing more of this, where they thought, well, what type of roles could we create, right? So I just think that could be really cool, right? As somebody to do, like, for example, maybe you have someone who just wants to do nothing but just gather resources and send resources to people, right? Now, that is a little bit of a tricky slope because that also kind of goes into RSS sellers, something that they could do too as well on their front. But I'm just giving an example. Right beyond just engineering talents. However, on the question of engineering talents granting EXP, I actually love that. And I think they should do that or something like that that could mimic or be similar to what we're seeing on the gathering side for those talents. So anyways, I love this idea. I hope it's something that would get added in. Then we get to the next question. What new gameplay and events are coming up? 1.0.18 will introduce war pets. You'll be able to capture them on the map and bring them to your pet sanctuary. That's pretty cool. Interacting with your pets in the sanctuary could lead to some exciting surprises. Train your war pets up to become stronger and more capable in battle. Then unleash them in your fight against the darkness. Intense. Now, though war pets sounds cool, I do want to also err on the side of caution, which is I hope that this isn't going to lead down the path of, oh, hey, in the next update or in the next couple updates, we're going to introduce equipment. And then now it becomes just like a spender-friendly feature that they're adding in that's essentially moving the goalpost for everyone that plays the game. That's something I hope they do not do. Again, War Pets is a little different because it's kind of like a mini behemoth, like a companion in World of Warcraft as an example, right? So, and hopefully it's not incredibly spender friendly. I think that's everyone's hope. But again, do I like the idea of them adding something different and new into the game that could, play a factor in the field? Sure. Do I think it's really needed at the moment? I don't. And again, that's my kind of err on the side of caution is I hope this isn't a segue that will lead into those types of things like, oh, hey, let's add equipment, let's add armaments, or let's add something else that is just incredibly spender friendly as a feature, right? Like, God forbid they do what Infinity Kingdom did and says, oh, hey, we're going to now allow for you guys to upgrade your cities to level 30 or 40 or 50. I mean, if they did that, like, just straight up exit yourself, you know what I mean? So, like, from the game. But, and again, that's just my opinion on it. Next is, and that's not all, Season 2, the Icebound Oath will begin with 1.0.18. The first batch of players will be able to explore Balaran from late August and enjoy all new season stories west of the Eternal Seas. Sea lies a land of new forces, new landforms, and new behemoths. More news about the Icebound Oath will be available in the 1.0.18 version update announcements, so stay tuned. This is probably going to be coming out in a couple days, I would imagine, if not longer than a week from now. And wow, so Season 2 getting confirmed that it is going to be coming in 1.0.1.8 or 0.18. This is going to be incredibly exciting. I really like this. I really liked this dev feedback overall. I think there's a lot of good positives that we're going to be getting in the new update. Can't wait till we get a hold of those patch notes. And as always, let me know what you guys think. in the comments down below for anything that we covered. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have a different view? Let me know. That officially is now going to do it for this one. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.